everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Joel Dawson, Louisiana State Police. I have just pulled each and every one of you over for the suspicion of drinking and driving. So I want everyone to stand up for the field sobriety test. Come on, everybody stand up. I want you to hold your fingers out like this where you don't get anybody in the face. Is everybody ready? I want you to take your right hand, your right finger, put it on your right ear. Bring it back.
We all can.
Left finger, left ear, bring it back. Right finger, right eye, bring it back. Left finger, left eye, bring it back. Right finger on your nose, left finger on your chin. Some of y'all going to jail. Have a seat. Today we're going to be talking about nonverbal communication. If you Google nonverbal communication, you're going to come up with just a ton of information from doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, trainers, coaches, authors, and drunk brother-in-law. Everybody's got an opinion. All of my information comes from one source, and that's from professional speakers, as well as world champions. So I wanted to preface that by saying everything that we cover refers to us as public speakers. How many of you have ever been talking to someone, or maybe in conversation or just watching somebody talk, and you sit there and you go, mm-hmm, yep, mm-hmm, yep. And as soon as they finish, you say, I don't trust them. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. Has anybody ever said that before? We as human beings, we get information in our brains 5 ways. By what we hear, see, smell, taste, and what we touch. In a setting like this, it's normally narrowed down to 2. What we see and what we hear. When your verbal communication and your nonverbal communication doesn't match, it causes confusion in the brain. And when there's confusion, there's distrust. So that gut feeling that you have when you say, I just don't trust them. I get a bad vibe from them. That's what it's from, because their body language and their vocal they're not matching. How many of you have ever heard of the fight or flight mechanism that's in all living creatures? The fight or flight mechanism is the human's natural reaction to a threat. Either you're getting ready to fight, or you're getting ready to get the heck out of Dodge, right? But let's take a look at fight for a minute. When a person gets ready to fight, the natural reaction is to crunch, ball, or something like this to protect this area right here. This is where all of your vital organs are, as well as your face. When it comes to speaking, if you're speaking like this, or anywhere, or put your hand in your face like this, because maybe you're nervous or whatever it may be, that sends a signal to your audience that you're being guarded. For whatever reason, that you're being guarded. So when you do speak, you want to keep this part of your body open as well as the palms of your hands. If you notice a lot of world champions, when they're speaking and they're going from one end to the stage or the other end to the stage, if they're going to this side, you notice they'll always have this hand open. They'll gesture with this hand, they never cross their body like this. Or if they're going on this side, they use this hand right here. So always keep your hands in this part facing your audience. Just think about it. If a cop pulls you over and he says, okay, put your hands up, and you do like this, what he's going to say? I want to see the palm of your hand, right? Because this basically says, I have nothing to hide. And I also don't have any weapons, so don't shoot. Don't shoot. A little bit about my personal life. Okay. So keep this part open. Now, I do want to go over a couple of myths, since we're talking about it. If you see someone in your audience that may have their arms folded like this, or crossed in some way, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not interested in you or they don't believe you. This is also the universal signal if someone is cold, right? If someone is cold, or if they're sitting in a chair that doesn't have any arms on it, or maybe they're sitting next to somebody that they don't like. They may not want to touch you. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. But this is not about what your audience is doing. This is about what you, as a speaker, should be doing. Now, if we go back to Google and the drunk brother-in-law, they're going to also tell you if you're speaking, you should stand with your feet at a 45-degree angle, stand up straight tall, and you should, hold your hands like this or something like that too. You can gesture. That makes you look confident. But as a professional speaker, What's more important? Looking confident or an audience connection? It's a connection. Every year when they have the World Championship of Public Speaking, those 9 contestants, they already know who the winner is that night. They already know. The winner every year is the person that connects with the audience the best. Every year. Not the one who looks the most confident. You know who the second place winner is? The one who has the second best connection with the audience. So it's not about looking a certain way, it's about connecting with your audience. Your audience has to think and they have to know here that, hey, he is just like us. He is no different from us. He's not somebody that's high and mighty. When they get that feeling, then you really made a connection. So keep your body open, hands open, facing your audience. Try not to have any type of barriers between you and your audience. Let's talk facial expressions. Facial expressions are a direct result of the emotions that you feel inside. You can fake your natural facial expressions, but you can't fake your emotions. How many times have you seen a friend, you say, hi, and they say, hi, and you say, oh God, tell me what's wrong. And then they say, oh God, you're not going to believe this. And then all of a sudden they start telling you this long, drawn-out story about, something that happened, right? Now, on a conscious level, to somebody that you know, it's very easy to see if they're having a bad day or not. But on the subconscious level, and you're looking at someone that you don't know, consciously you can't tell. But subconsciously you can. You know something's right, something's not jiving. So if you get up here and you're having a bad day, and you're just ho-hum, but you're smiling, your audience is not going to say, hey, wait, Joel, hold on, man. Hey, bring it in. Let's hug it out. Let's hug it out. No, they're not going to say that. They're going to sit there, they're going to listen, and they're not going to believe it. So, Joel, I was always told that you have to smile, be polite, so people can like you. If they like you, then you can build rapport with them. So you're saying that's wrong? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. The cornerstone to building rapport is not to get someone to like you. It's to get them to trust you. So if you're standing here and you're frustrated, but you're smiling, you're sending mixed messages. Okay? As long as you're sending mixed messages, you're never going to be able to build rapport. You know why? Because they're not going to trust you. So, think about this. How many times have you met a salesperson that walks up to you, they stick their hand out for you to shake their hand, they smile at you, and before they open their mouth, you've already decided that you don't like them. Right? Now, I'm picking on salespeople for 2 reasons. Number one, I am one. But number 2, salespeople are just like anybody else. They have good days and they have bad days. But they are taught from the beginning to go out there every single day, stick your hand out, and smile. And every single day, they're sending conflicting messages. So, Joel, what should I do? So if I'm having a bad day, just let it show. What I'm saying is be true to your emotions and don't fake it. Because whatever you feel on the inside, that's what your natural expressions are going to be. But take that with a grain of salt, though. I mean, if you just got into an argument with somebody, and you don't just come up here and just start ranting about what just happened. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. Don't do like Mike Tyson did now. Don't do what he did. This guy. 1997, Mike Tyson is getting the chance of an opportunity to fight 5-time world champion Evander Holyfield to regain his title. Prior to that, he had a fight. He was the #1 contender. The fight scheduled for 12 rounds in true Mike Tyson fashion. Walks in at 7 seconds. Bam! Guy's out. So he comes out of the ring, and the guy's standing with a microphone to interview him. But he's frustrated because 3 weeks prior to that, he had a friend that passed away. So he's angry, he's frustrated, he's just a mess. So the guy says, well, what do you think about your fight with Evander Holyfield? And he says, oh, I want to kill him. I want to murder him. I want to rip his heart out. I want to eat his children. Does anybody remember when he said that? You remember when he said that? Some people do. Now, that was pretty scary. You know why it was so scary? Because he was believable. He was very believable. But then after that, this is what he does. He finally gets into the ring with Evander Holyfield. Second round, he grabs him, bites off half of his ear. So Evander Holyfield is jumping around like this, and like the guy just bit my ear. So 45 seconds later, he grabs him and he bites the other ear. So now he's really, like, what's going on here? Let me tell you something. If you saw that interview and you didn't believe him then, I promise you, you believe him now. You definitely believe him. But think about this. What do you think Evander Holyfield's children were thinking? Because I'm pretty sure they, if that's his dad, they probably heard the interview, and then when they saw it on TV, I'm pretty sure they're like, he wants to eat us, we're going to have to get out of here. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Remember, you cannot change your natural facial expressions. But you can change your emotions. Vickers Gingram in his book Emote says, if there's an emotion that you want your audience to feel, you have to feel it. That's where positive mental attitude comes from. Why do you think Alejandro's always smiling? It's not fake. That's the way he is on the inside. So you have to develop a positive mental attitude ritual when you get ready to speak to help you manage your emotions. Because if you're going to be giving a speech that's upbeat, you want your verbal and your nonverbal communications to match. So your facial expressions and your body language has to be upbeat. But you can't fake your facial expressions, so what do? You change your emotions. Because if you have upbeat emotions, you're going to have natural upbeat facial expressions. Right? Right. That also works on the other end of the spectrum. Probably the best people when it comes to managing emotions are actors, especially soap operas. Now, I pick soap operas because everybody in here has seen a soap opera before, and they're nothing more than a hot mess. They're all the same. But this is a typical scene in a soap opera. Let's see if I can do this without laughing. Okay, the guy walks in from work. He walks into his bedroom. The wife is sitting down, full makeup, earrings. She's brushing her hair. But she's getting ready to go to bed. That point I never got. So he walks up, she's looking in the mirror, he puts his hands on the chair, and he says, Margaret, we need to have a talk. Yes, John. And this is when you know something's about to happen because he just turns away. You and I have not been getting along very well, and I think we need some time apart. So she hops up. Well, John, what are you saying? What are you saying? Margaret, I want a divorce. No, John, you can't do this to me. Goodbye, Margaret. And he walks up. Now, she is Margaret. No, stop, please. Why? Let me ask you a question. The pain and sorrow that Margaret feels, is that genuine? Yes. The crying that she's doing, is that genuine? Yes. The tears that's streaming down her face, is that real? Yes. Here's a $1 million question. Is she crying because John wants to get a divorce? No! No, but she has learned how to manage her emotions. Everyone in this room right now can think of something. And if they think about it hard enough, it'll bring them to tears. Right? Chances are she's probably crying because, I don't know, maybe her dog died or something when she was like 9 years old. But it doesn't matter. She was able to get the emotion that she wanted, to get the natural facial expressions and body language to match her verbal communication. Right? Make sense? Okay. There's an artist who sets up an easel. He paints on the sidewalk. And he's learned to paint upside down. That way he doesn't reveal his painting until he's finished. So as he paints, an audience gathers around him. And there's a hush because they don't know what the picture is. So they sit there quietly. And when he finished painting, he turns the picture right side up. And the crowd roars and claps. Some of the people in the audience said, "Wow, I love that picture. I love the beautiful colors." Other people in the audience said, "Wow, I love that picture." But they don't say anything about the beautiful colors. Then he finds out later that a lot of the people in the audience was colorblind. That's what it's like when you give a speech and you don't use any hand gestures. Hand gestures help you tell the story, but they also give it color. There's 3 types of hand gestures. There's your natural hand gestures that we all have. You have descriptive hand gestures, like when you describing that fish that got away. Then by the time you get home, it's this big. And then you tell your buddies it's this big. That's descriptive. Or when you're driving in traffic and a guy cuts you off and you stick your finger up out the window and you tell him he's number 1. That's descriptive. Then you have emotional hand gestures. When you're trying to display emotion. I know it's his favorite. Like when Drew Brees fumbles the ball. Or when that guy cuts you off in traffic and you stick your hand out and tell him he's number 1. People that are left brain, more logical, have a tendency not to use a lot of hand gestures. That also have a tendency to be men. Has anybody ever seen that cartoon, Hank Hill? The adult cartoon, Hank Hill? You got Hank Hill, Boomhauer, Bill Dougherty, and Dale Dribble. They stand in like a semicircle, like this. Yep. And every once in a while you see one of them take a swig of beer. And that's it. That's all the hand gestures you see. For the most part, that's what a conversation amongst a bunch of men really looks like. It really does. Not all men, but that's what it really looks like. So if they are like, say, 75 feet away to where you can't see who's talking, you can't see the lips moving, you can't tell who's talking. Every once in a while you might get one of these. But for the most part, that's it. When you don't use a lot of hand gestures, you handicap your audience. I'm going to talk a little more about handicapping your audience later. But if you're right brain, more creative, you have a tendency to use a lot more hand gestures. And that also has a tendency to be women. Right. I go to Starbucks a lot, and there's a group of women that sit on the outside, on the inside. I can't hear what they're saying. But I can always tell who's talking because they talk with their hands. Now, sometimes the hands are all over the place. If your hands are all over the place like that, then that can be distracting. And then again, that can cause your audience to disengage from you. So this is what I recommend. If you're the type of person that does not use a lot of hand gestures, look at your speech and look at opportunities to where you can incorporate descriptive hand gestures as well as emotional hand gestures. So instead of you just standing like this, it raises your nonverbal communication skills up a little bit. But if your hands are all over the place like this, we got to calm that down some. Let's focus on using emotional hand gestures and using descriptive hand gestures. Now, chances are there's going to be some others, but what that does, it gets you in a range where you can engage with your audience. This is the main reason why you want to use hand gestures to complete your nonverbal communication. In the beginning, I said that there were 5 ways that we, as human beings, receive information. When it comes to speaking, that's normally narrowed down to 2, right? What we see and what we hear. Everyone in this room is receiving this message differently. Some of you are receiving this message based primarily on what you see, secondarily, what you hear. Others are receiving this message based primarily on what you hear, secondary, what you see. It's like, imagine a round hole, and you have two pegs that have to go in. They will both fit in, but they won't fit in at the same time. One has to fit in before the other. That's how your brain works. Oh no, Joel, I can see you and hear you just fine. But it's not going in here the same. Don't believe me? That's why some of you put your finger on your chin. You put your finger on your chin because that's what I said. Some of you put your finger on your nose because that's what I did. Well, you said one thing, but you did another. Right. That's my point. Now, neither is good or bad or right or wrong. My point is to show you that there are some people in your audience that the way they primarily are going to receive your information is based on what they see. Secondary, what they hear. And for the record, this is why you don't talk with your hands in your pocket or use very little hand gestures. Because what that does, it handicaps your audience because it causes all of you to be 100% auditory, where some of you are naturally visual. Make sense? Let's go back to our friend Google. Some studies show 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%. I've seen research that shows even 90% of all communication is done non-verbally. But as a speaker, I have to tell you that's simply not true. I could not have just stood up here, wave my arms around, and be able to deliver a message to you. But I do want to stress to you the importance of non-verbal communication. It's just as important as your verbal communication because you have to remember, it's not only what you say, it's how you say it. Because in the end, when everything is all said and done, and your audience goes home, the only thing that matters is what they were able to put in here. So when you practice your verbal communication, practice your nonverbal communication as well. And the best way to do that is with video. Well, I don't like to be in video. Learn. You have to learn if you want to become a better speaker. Video yourself, giving a speech, turn the volume all the way down, and watch it and see how your nonverbal communication makes you feel. Look at your body language. Do you look trustworthy? Look at your facial expressions. Does your emotions match your message? Are your hand gestures adding to your speech, or are they taking away from it? Nonverbal communication is very critical to a speaker. It's nonverbal communication that gives you the ability to wow your audience. It gives your speech that pizzazz and the emotion, and you can also get a few laughs. Here's 3 things I want you to take away. When it comes to your body language, make sure that it's open, and there's no type of barriers between you and your audience. Your facial expressions, don't change your facial expressions, change your emotions. Number 3, your hand gestures should add to your message, not take away. All of this is to say that I want you to remember the most important thing about nonverbal communication. And the reason that it's so important, and you have to always keep this in mind, is that any time that you talk in front of an audience, there are people in your audience that their primary way of receiving your information is based on what they see. You guys have been a great audience. I had fun. But I think my friends back